Hey guys, how's it going? So in today's video, I thought I'd talk about what it was like transitioning from, say, a client-facing role in a professional firm to a more commercially focused role in a company. So if you're moving from, say, audit to an FP&A role, I'm going to go over what it's like to transition from these two jobs, what an FP&A role actually entails, what you're going to sort of be doing day to day on an FP&A role, and talking about if you're going for an interview, what you might want to highlight and how you can actually get into this kind of role. So that's what I'm going to go over in today's video. Aware that this probably isn't going to be for everyone, but if you are in a professional firm and you're thinking about making this transition, this video should hopefully be for you. If you are interested in this kind of stuff, then subscribe to my channel, like this video, and let's get started. So if you follow my channel, you know that I actually worked at PwC. When I moved from PwC, I didn't want to go into a controllership role, which is the sort of natural transition as an auditor moving into a company. And that's basically a part of the company that prepares sets of accounts. Now, I didn't want to just prepare sets of accounts. I wanted to look more into sort of budgeting and forecasting, and that's what an FP&A role provides. So FP&A actually stands for Financial Planning and Analysis. And when you get into this role, you're probably going to be either finance manager or finance analyst, more likely. I say more likely because if you're not moving from, say, a manager role at PwC or a professional firm, then you're probably going to be starting at a lower level. And the natural transition from, say, an associate at a professional firm to a company would be to move into, say, a finance analyst role or a commercial business partner role. And what an FP&A role does is basically forecasting, financial planning. It can also be preparing actual results, but not from a perspective of, say, like a controllership role or preparing a set of accounts, but more preparing sort of management information on a monthly basis, quarterly basis that is going to help, say, the CFO and different management understand what's going on in the company. And because of that, actuals is not directly linked to, say, what the accounts are saying. It means there's a more commercially focused area. So it's going to look at different kind of metrics that are involved in how the company operates that aren't exactly featured within the set of accounts. So it could be key performance indicators and things that really making this business tick that aren't just shown in how much depreciation and things like that. Now, a department in an FP&A role could be split down in many ways depending on the size of the company. But companies that I've worked at, they sort of split down the team by, say, some people working on the profit and loss, maybe some people working on the balance sheet and cash flow, preparing things like working capital. You might have the team split down into analyzing operating costs. So some people might be analyzing the top line, like revenue and what those drivers are. And then there might be another section of the team in the FP&A team actually preparing what's happening with the operating costs. And it really depends on the size of the company and the size of the subsidiary or the operation that you're working in, what you sort of work on. And then there might be a part of the team that are working on preparing the actuals I was discussing, which are more commercially focused actuals for, say, what's going on to, say, inform what the CFO's decision making is. And then with that, each department needs to know what is happening with the actuals, so what the results have come through, and then also be able to prepare then the forecast and budgeting. So the budgeting generally happens at year end, whereas the forecast will happen through the year. So we'll have like a Q1 forecast of what's going to happen in the next 3 quarters, and then a half one, which is what's going to happen in the next half of the year. And the reason why an FP&A role is good is because it's a forward-looking role. So you do need to understand what's going on in the company, but you also need to get indicators and discuss what's going on with the company with different people from around the company. So you have to talk to operational teams, you have to talk to the strategic teams, you have to talk to all the SLT, so what the senior leadership team, what their understanding of what's going on in the company. And the reason why it's a good role and more engrossing, I find, is because you're looking forward at what's going to happen, and you can start taking in details of what plans are being put in place to actually drive this business forward, and you can understand which direction the company's going. Now, if you're just analyzing actuals, it's a very historic role, and if you're preparing sets of accounts, everything that you're reviewing is just what's happened in the past, and that doesn't change. All you're interested in is why those things have happened, and it's good to understand what's going to happen, but it's also, I find, more entertaining to know what is going to happen in the future. You know, that's what a lot of the business is interested in, is how are they going to drive the business forward, what's going to happen in the future. Now, with that comes a lot of risk and a lot of uncertainty. So with a role like FP&A, you're going to be dealing with a lot of judgment. And as you can imagine, on a day-to-day role then, depending on what part of the month it is, if it is like the start of the month, you might have to do certain month-end procedures, but these procedures aren't going to be the case of preparing journals and preparing sets of accounts, but more collating information, analyzing that information on a monthly basis, what's happened in the previous month, and reporting it back. You might have different calls at the end of month with different parts of the team. Say if it's like regional, you might have like geographic geographical telephone calls to know what's going on with different operations from around the business, assuming that that business is global. And then once you've done that, you then might be preparing, say, what your forecast is for the remaining month. And that'll probably take up like the first week or so. And then you might be preparing larger projects. So you might be assisting with ad hoc projects where maybe a certain part of the business is preparing to spend X amount of money trying to get this project going. You might be sort of partnering with them to get the numbers together and assist them, because they're more commercial, in understanding the numbers and if the maths make sense in terms of actually going ahead with this project. So you might be relating those costs, maybe doing a tracker of how that project's going, and that might take up a part of your month. And then you might then be preparing things like a more long-term forecast. So you might be even doing something like a 5-year plan, which is something I worked on, where companies will set out, say in 2020, they might set up what they're going to do by 2025, and you might be assisting with that. And obviously that generally takes in what's going to happen next year, and then an overriding assumptions past that point to say, okay, we're going to continue at, say, a 3% rate on that point. So there's lots of different things that you do in the month that mean that it's a bit more ad hoc than just preparing a set of accounts and doing such a specific monthly procedure. So that's sort of what you do on a day-to-day. That's what you do in your job. So you can see that it's probably quite difficult then if you are in audit to see how you can justify doing that role, because an audit, you are just preparing historics and you don't have any, you might not have any indicators of how you are set to do a more commercially focused role. But because you think that it isn't impossible to move from, say, an audit role or to a client-facing role in a professional firm to moving into, say, a commercially focused role in a company, you just have to start looking for clients that you've worked on and look for the commercial parts of the work that you've done at a professional firm that are gonna relate and gonna transfer over to that company specifically. And not everybody is going to have commercially focused experience when they interview for a job. Often at times, companies will put out a statement and say, this is the kind of person we're looking for. Just because they're looking for that kind of person doesn't mean that's the people that they're going to get in. Because generally speaking, they're putting down all the qualities of a person that has already done that role. And why would someone move from, say, an exact same finance analyst role in a different company, unless they really hate that company, to, say, this other company with all the same set of skills? Everybody is going to be moving into a company where they don't have the correct skill set yet to do that role. That's the reason why people apply. They want to apply and move up, learn new skills. And that's what you have to realize if you're in a professional firm, is not everyone is going to have the skills, and you're probably going to be put against people very similar. Now, if you're a professional firm, you have good things going for you. You have the ability to say that you've worked for different kind of companies, you've understood those companies from the inside. You can talk about the commercial elements of that job from working in a professional firm, of how it relates over. Talk about business drivers, talk about the fact that you like to know what's going to happen in the future. I think a key line for me when I was moving into a commercially focused role is that, I want a job which is more forward looking as opposed to looking historically. You can build in assumptions. Say you've worked on different clients where there are judgmental parts of that role or judgmental parts of the testing that you had to do. Say how you were able to figure out the judgments and put these things in place, because those are what a forward-looking role entails, is having to put down accurate judgments of what you think is going to happen in the future. As long as you can express that, you should have a good chance of getting that role. Another key factor with all the roles I've done, which are like finance analyst and commercial business partnering, is a key understanding of what's going on in Excel, the ability to build up data models, the fact that you are good at using large sets of data. I remember when I was at PwC, I did a lot of sort of risk assurance, large data sets, testing things like journals, getting the hang of being good at using Excel and being confident in an interview saying that you are very adept to being able to use models and being able to analyze large sets of data. And that comes with doing a lot of testing, particularly if you're in, say, audit. You have a good understanding of what's going on in Excel, and that's going to set you apart from, say, other people on the team, because sometimes you go into a company and if there's a loads of people that are around the age of 45, generally speaking, I find they're not very good at Excel unless that's a specific part of their job. So that's going to set you apart as well, being able to say that you're good at data modeling. But that's basically it. I don't think it's that hard once you go into the role. You're going to be in a professional firm, and you can never say this in an interview, but basically you work ridiculous hours, and that's all it takes, is the ability to work a lot of hours, keep persisting, and you're probably going to be able to do the role in a finance analyst. And you probably know that. You're capable of doing that role. If you can work in a professional firm, you're capable of working at a company in an accounting department or an FP&A role, So it's just about being able to show that across and being able to highlight what your key key skill areas are and that you're able to commit, and there's different things that you've learned on that job. And it's just about expressing that and showing a willingness and a enjoyment for having to do that role. And you probably can get that role, and as a result of that, you're probably going to be fine doing it. You know, if you're being able to learn as quickly as you have to on a professional firm, you're going to be able to do it in an actual company. So hopefully that's interesting, useful to some people. If it is, like this video. Let me know in the comment section below if you want to know anything else accounting related. I'm aware that some people do want to know this kind of stuff, so let me know if there's anything specific that you want to know, and I will make a video on it. Hopefully this was interesting. Smash that like button, subscribe to this channel. See you next time. Thanks for watching.